Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Young and restless, Mariah returned home from a business trip with a haunting secret that could rip her marriage apart, and the twist ahead may lead to even more trouble. Weeks ago, Mariah came back from a work trip for Cassidy first and spilled the beans to Sharon that she'd done something horrible. So awful, in fact, that she and Sharon both fear her marriage to Tessa might not survive it. But as we all waited with bated breath for the story to break wide open, it disappeared from our screens completely. Perhaps the writers were waiting for Pride Month to find Mariah and Tessa, brush them off, and continue their story, because we can report that they're back at the end of this week. That said, the news is probably not good for Teriah fans, judging from the sneak peek pics. It's clear that Mariah hasn't moved on and is still stewing, as she paces Sharon's place looking pained and pensive. Presumably tortured by the guilt of whatever it is she's done. Might she be considering a confession? Thankfully, she gets some advice from her mother, though it looks as though Sharon might be taking a hard line and urging Mariah to fess up and face whatever it is she's hiding from her wife, so they can work through it together. Mariah finds Tessa in the park, guitar in hand, and just to make any confession a million times harder, rubbing it in so hard what she has to lose, her wife sings her a love song, or so it appears. Will Mariah be able to go through with a confession that could end such a beautiful union? It certainly looks like she's telling Tessa something unexpected and somewhat appalling. Who will Tessa turn to if she's just found out that Mariah cheated on her whilst away on business or did something equally terrible? Well, we won't have to look too far. Daniel's right there in the park. And as is wont to happen on soaps, as with Daniel and Lily, it's likely that what begins as comfort could turn to something more between the two friends. Why would this particular hookup be so eyebrow-raising when this sort of thing happens all the time on soap operas? In a word, because the writers had Tessa state that she is gay. Years ago, she didn't say she was bisexual. So, even though she's had a husband and dated Mariah's brother Noah, this would be a troubling twist on top of, well, a troubling twist. Whatever happens, we hope Teriah will weather the storm in the end. Happier days. Look back on Mariah and Tessa's groovy wedding in the photo gallery below. In the picturesque town of Genoa City, where secrets never stay buried and emotions run as high as the corporate towers that loom over the skyline, the young and the restless is set to plunge fans into another whirlwind. This time, it's one of the show's most beloved couples, Tessa Porter and Mariah Copeland, affectionately known as Teriah, who may find themselves at the center of a storm that threatens to unravel the love story viewers have fought so hard to see bloom. What begins as a subtle shift in energy may soon spiral into something more ominous, and for fans of the soap's first major same-sex couple, this could mean navigating one of their most emotionally taxing arcs yet. The calm before the storm. Since the birth of baby Arya, Teriah has seemingly flourished into domestic bliss. Their journey to parenthood was filled with heartache, setbacks, and ultimately, joy, a hard-earned dream that gave their story greater depth and dimension. They weathered long-distance strains, adoption hurdles, career shifts, and identity challenges with strength and grace. The kind of real-world complexity that gave their romance staying power. But as soap fans know all too well, happiness is a fragile construct in Genoa City. With Tessa back in the studio recording new material and Mariah stepping up in the business world under the watchful eye of Sharon and Devon, the couple is no longer cocooned in their baby bubble. The grind of daily responsibilities, coupled with the inevitable exhaustion of new parenthood, has quietly begun to wear thin the once impenetrable bond. And while both women are doing their best to do it all, their connection has taken a backseat, something neither of them may fully admit just yet. A troubling twist. Emotional distance. In the coming weeks, a subtle but insidious emotional distance begins to creep in. Tessa, driven by artistic inspiration and a desire to reclaim her voice after months of putting her music on hold, begins working closely with a new producer, a rising star named River Maddox. River is charming, intuitive, and highly attuned to Tessa's emotional and artistic sensibilities. He's also openly queer, which should be reassuring. But as history in Genoa City proves, labels don't prevent complications when hearts get involved. Meanwhile, Mariah, already feeling the weight of responsibility, finds herself increasingly excluded from Tessa's creative world. At first, it's small things, missed dinner plans, late-night studio sessions, a few texts left unread. But then it escalates. Tessa starts to confide in River in ways she used to with Mariah. The kind of heart-to-hearts that once built their foundation are now being shared in softly lit studios, long after midnight. Teriah, for her part, is far from blameless in this growing rift. She begins to bond with someone new too, a therapist who's been helping Sharon set up a mental wellness initiative at the community center. His name is Elias Monroe. He's empathetic, a good listener, and soon becomes Teriah's sounding board when it feels like no one else understands the silent ache growing in her heart. Cracks in the foundation. Neither Tessa nor Teriah is intentionally seeking anything outside their relationship, but as communication falters and misunderstandings fester, the cracks in their foundation widen. Tessa's sessions with River are producing music that's raw, vulnerable, and emotionally intense. River encourages her to dig deep into her past, to explore her fears of abandonment and self-worth, themes she once explored with Teriah but now feels too distant from to revisit together. She starts to feel a sense of emotional validation from River that feels intoxicating. On the other side, Teriah begins to question her identity outside of being a partner and a mother. Elias helps her unpack lingering insecurities from her tumultuous upbringing, from the days of Ian Ward to the loss of her twin, Cassie. In doing so, Teriah reconnects with a sense of individuality she's long buried. Soon, both women are confiding in other people more than in each other. It's a dangerous slope, and one that could easily lead to betrayal, even if unintentional. The indiscretion, an emotional affair, or something more. Soaps thrive on the tension between right and wrong, and Y&R is about to walk that tightrope with Teriah in ways that will leave fans stunned. A late-night studio session leads to an intimate moment between Tessa and River. Nothing physical happens, yet, but the closeness is undeniable. The kind of lingering look, the almost touch, the breath held just a moment too long, it's enough to send the rumor mill spinning. Meanwhile, Teriah finds herself in a similarly charged moment. After a long conversation with Elias that leaves her in tears of clarity, perhaps, he places a comforting hand on hers. It lingers, not inappropriately, but with enough tenderness to awaken something Teriah didn't know was still dormant, the longing to be seen, to be chosen. It's the kind of slow burn indiscretion that Y&R does best. No overt betrayal, no torrid affair, but an emotional intimacy that borders dangerously close to the edge. The fallout. Will they survive it? When the truth inevitably comes out, and it always does, the fallout could shake Teriah's relationship to its core. Imagine Teriah walking into the studio to surprise Tessa, only to witness her and River in a moment of unspoken closeness. Or Tessa overhearing a vulnerable conversation between Teriah and Elias that reveals just how isolated her wife has felt. The heartache will be palpable. The arguments, emotionally charged. Accusations of emotional infidelity will fly. And most importantly, each woman will be forced to reckon with the real question at the heart of this crisis: have we stopped choosing each other? A storyline with real-world relevance. There's no denying that Y&R is treading into tricky territory here, but that's part of what makes this arc so compelling. Teriah has always represented something deeply meaningful to fans, a love story that felt real, grounded, and finally inclusive in a genre that long overlooked queer narratives. But to keep that story alive and authentic, it can't remain static. The pressures they face are very real: parenthood, career demands, emotional fatigue, communication breakdowns. These aren't soapy contrivances, they're life. And how Tessa and Teriah navigate this next chapter could define them as individuals and as a couple. Will they come back stronger, having weathered another storm together? Or will this be the storyline that breaks them apart, at least for a while? Possible futures. There are a few directions the show could take from here. Recommitment through crisis. Teriah confronts their emotional indiscretions head-on and begins couples therapy, rediscovering why they fell in love in the first place. Perhaps even planning a symbolic vow renewal to start fresh. A temporary break. The couple agrees to a separation to find themselves, giving the writers room to explore Tessa's musical journey and Teriah's identity crisis in more depth, maybe even with brief rebounds that never fully satisfy. The soap twist. One of the outsiders, River or Elias, develops true feelings and crosses a line, forcing Teriah into a more explosive confrontation that leaves lasting scars. Could a one-night mistake threaten years of love? The unthinkable. A split. Not necessarily permanent, but enough to make fans question if Teriah, once the symbol of enduring love, is truly over. Why this matters. At the end of the day, soap operas reflect our deepest desires and our most uncomfortable truths. By challenging Teriah, the young and the restless has an opportunity to deepen their narrative, not destroy it. Love doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's tested, Sometimes it bends. Sometimes it breaks. But when it endures, especially in the face of temptation and heartbreak, it becomes something even more powerful. Fans may be in for a rough ride, but if the writing holds, this could be one of the most nuanced and emotionally resonant arcs Teriah has ever faced. What do you think? Should Tessa and Teriah weather the storm, or would a little time apart bring new clarity to their lives? Either way, Genoa City won't be the same. And neither will Teriah. Thanks for watching this video and please subscribe our Update World 24 YouTube channel for more update news.